A long time ago, I used to be a professional player in Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard's MOBA. During the time that I played, I was the most successful Western player. I won the most tournaments and won the most prize money of anyone. During that time, I spent a lot of time playing against the top Korean teams, and specifically the best Korean player, Rich. To be honest, there was never a discussion about who the best player in HOTS was. It's pretty cliche, everyone says it, but Rich is the faker of HOTS. He was the most successful player. Every time he was in the server, he was the one player that all the other 9 were thinking, okay, how do we play around Rich? His own team thinking, how can we buff him? The enemy team thinking, how can we counter him? He was just so influential.
저는 사람들이 저를 최고라고 말하는 걸 알고 있었고, 이제 제 개인 방송에도 하추 중에 제일 시청자가 많았고, 이제 롤로 따지면 롤드컵 같은 거를 월즈를 2번 우승했고, MSI도 이제 2번 우승했고, 또 중국에서 열리는 세계대회가 있는데 그것도 또 많이 우승했고, 웬만한 자국 리그는 거의 다 우승했던 것 같아요.
I started working at Dignitas and he started playing League. And every time that I'd have an opportunity, I'd always look over to what he was doing. I'd be cheering him on and watching all his games. And just thinking, like, wow, wouldn't it be so cool to have Rich on Dignitas after all those years? There's 2 back-to-back World Finals he played against us and won both of them, sadly. Knowing him and having watched him for so many years, I knew how good he could be, and I knew what he could transfer and bring to the League of Legends community. I don't think other people did. So I've always had this view that he's very underrated. And even when he went to LPL, he wasn't that hyped. He goes in, he wins the spring regular season, he gets first All-Pro team. Right? That was stuff that I knew he was capable of the whole time. So every off-season, I've always been looking, can we bring this to Dig? Can we bring this to Dig? And finally, this was the one way it worked out.
저는 되게 재밌고, 와, 이거 뭐라 해야 되지? 이제 제임스가 제 어쨌든 상관 위에 있잖아요, 위에. 그래가지고 되게 재밌는 것 같아요. 그리고 제가 원하는 거 있으면 다 들어주는 편이라 좋은 것 같아요. 내가 히어로즈에서 이룬 것들은 여기선 진짜 아무 의미도 없다. 히어로즈에서 내가 최고지만 여기서는 진짜 신입이니까 그냥 사람들이 나를 뭐라고 하든 코치 감독이 뭐라 하든 모든 말들을 다 잘 듣고 다 수용하자 이런 마인드로 게임을 했던 것 같아요.
I think the skills transfer pretty well. I'd say the main thing about HOTS is there's no lane phase. So it is all team fighting all the time. So especially if you play a bunch of games back to back, you just spam them, you learn how to team fight so quickly, and you really bring that skill over to League of Legends. So he definitely has got that. I know he had to struggle for a few years in lane phase, but very excited to say that I think he's solved that now.
Okay! There you go, Rich!
The way that he approaches things, he's very methodical, he's very scientific, he's very driven. But just his raw talent is unreal. He's very smart, and he will find those tiny edges that no one else is even seeing, and he will execute them on stage.
일단은 저는 저희 팀이 이제 제가 알기로 스프링 때 10등이었던 걸로 알고 있는데 플레이오프도 진출해서 월드컵 노려보고 싶고, 그리고 가능하면은 좀 팀원들과 웃으면서 좋은 성적을 내고 싶네요. 하츠를 하면서 되게 많은 관심도 받고 좋은 성적도 냈었는데 저는 그 시간들이 되게 헛되지 않았다고 생각하고 엄청 저에게 뜻깊은 시간들이었어가지고 지금 이 자리에 있는 것 같아요.
I don't want to put too much pressure on him, so I want to be a bit careful here, but I think he is almost certainly the best top laner in the LCS. I'd be highly surprised if he's not the best player in the LCS. I don't think the league is ready for Rich.
Welcome back to the LCS. Welcome back to opening week presented by MasterCard. And welcome back for game number 3 of day number 3 in Super Week number 1. I'm Captainflowers. That's Kobe.
Super Week number 1 of 6.
Yes, there's a lot of Super Weeks here in LCS this summer split. But today, we've got a 2-0 EG going up against a 0-2 Dignitas. We just heard from Dignitas' side about their new top laner that they're hoping is going to be an answer for some of the problems that they faced in spring.
Yeah, and you and I were casting yesterday, and they're dropping the game, but Rich was kind of the bright spot for them, getting getting his kills onto Fudge, and a lot of teams have been on the receiving end of Cloud9 dominance. So see if they can bounce back here today. I do think he's going to need some more help from the rest of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going up against an EG that people had a lot of mixed perceptions about coming into this summer split, but their first couple of games have gone pretty solid for them.
Yeah, definitely agree. Honestly, more than solid here for Jojo especially. I'm super hyped to see if they can carry some momentum forward with this EG squad. With putting these guys together, expectations for a lot of people were pretty low, especially when you have people coming out of previous coaching here for Armao with Cloud9 and stuff like that, and and slapping them all together, but instantly finding some success here. Very, very exciting.
And Jojo's such a fun player to watch. A lot of people are super big fans of him. Other people think that he's too full of himself. Everybody's got an opinion on Jojo, though, because he's such a fun player to watch. And when he's at that peak of skill, it's just a great time to see it happen in front of your eyes. And I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm just going to say it straight. In spring, I thought he was running it straight down. Like, I did not understand what was going on. I flamed Jat for considering him for All-Pro in spring. I was like, what are you talking about? But after some of the games that we've seen out of him in these first couple of days, it seems like Jojo got his mojo back.
Yeah, I mean, and he did as well. That's part of the reason why, he went to Korea and decided to buckle down, and he was training up, and he feels like he's back now. He definitely was not happy with his previous performance, and now we're going to constantly get the view on all of these extra napkins that he was complaining about how sticky the water bottles are, right? I think we could solve this by just getting him a different water bottle. That's not these plastic water bottles. We can get him a Jojo water bottle. I'm sure of it. EG, let's hook it up. And then we don't have to deal with all these extra napkins all over the place. But let's get right into Champion Select. Nico off the table immediately. No surprise there. See about this bottom lane, though. Already EG respecting Rich a little. Banning out the Gwen, one of those carry champions for top lane that both can demolish tanks and also come and team fight very effectively. There's not a lot of the carry champions for top side that can also win you team fights. That certainly is one of them. And we just saw that video from Dig about how that really is Rich's specialty.
First banning it is definitely a sign of respect here from EG. Also going to go ahead, ban out that Vi. Been a staple of competitive play for, I don't even remember how long now. Feels like she's just been in the meta forever, but they don't want to face her here today. Dignitas takes Yuumi off the table. Thank goodness.
All right, Yuumi off the table. Milio and Zeri still floating around. The Lucian has been really hotly contested, especially by these teams that do have confidence in their bottom lane. So I know a lot of teams do like to attack Dignitas bottom lane. Maybe something that FBI could be toying around with.
And EG going to ban out Maokai, the third ban of the first half here. I was talking to Emily behind the scenes before the show started today, and she was talking about how, if you leave Milio up and you let blue side first pick him, if you're confident in your bottom lane, you just respond with Lucian and Nami, and you slam him early on in lane. Dignitas not going to take that approach. They will ban Milio away instead. Zeri is still available. She still has viable lane partners like Lulu, but Evil Geniuses are going to first pick the Ahri for Jojo.
Okay, so the Annie trade is up and available for Jensen. Jensen hasn't done very much roaming around from mid lane, so maybe they want him on more of a Jensen champion. If he's just going to stay mid, then get him something that can really benefit from farm. And they're going to pick up very quickly. That's what we usually say is the flex Cassante, but we went over this last Dignitas game. But it's probably going into the hands of Rich.
I would be very surprised to see it be a Cassante for Jensen, but they're also locking in the Rakan for themselves, giving Diamond a little bit of engage power, and also guaranteeing that they would deny a Xayah Rakan pick in the same rotation from Evil Geniuses if they wanted to take that approach to their own bottom lane.
Yeah, but Aphelios is up, so I think you're super happy to take the Aphelios, especially for Unforgiven here. Can they pair it with the Lulu, or are they worried about that all-in engage? Looks like they'll leave it floating.
Okay. If they don't lock Lulu in here.
Okay, top LeBlanc has actually been a thing, by the way. So that hover is kind of exciting, even though it's just a hover and they go with the Lulu. I really want to see the Iceborne tank top LeBlanc that is that has been in a bit of solo queue. Not going to be the case, though. Not going to be pulled out here on the LCS stage. And they will just get the Lulu pairing early on for Aphelios.
Well, we've got a couple of junglers banned out here in the first phase, with neither team having drafted a jungler in their first 3 picks. I'm expecting to see some more jungle bans here in the second half of the draft. Sejuani is still up. She gets played practically every game, it feels like. Gragas going to be the first ban, though, in this second half for Dig.
Yeah, since Maokai gets banned so frequently, Sejuani kind of becomes that go-to jungle tank right now. I am a really big fan of Poppy still, though. The jungle Poppy, very flexible with top lane too. So it can always go that route. But yeah, Gragas, before Gragas gets nerfed, definitely deserves the ban here, as he's so flexible. Is going to get some big fatty nerfs, though, on the next patch. So we'll be waiting for that one. Some meta shakeups are on the way, Flowers. I promise.
I hope so.
I promise.
I'm ready for things to get a little spicier than they have been. I'm happy to see Annie banned away here. Annie versus Ahri is one of those matchups you see so many times. Evil Genius has taken the opportunity to avoid it this time around. One more ban over to Dignitas. A couple seconds left, making sure they use the whole clock. And Kindred will be the ban out this time. That champion's become very powerful with the recent itemization changes.
Yeah.
Trinity Force, super strong. They want to take it off the table.
I especially love it because in Enchanter metas for bottom lane, then the support can also be really, really beneficial for the Kindred players if they get that early lead. And most junglers right now, surprise, surprise, are putting most of their attention towards the bot side of the map. That is still very much true. See how we rounded out. That LeBlanc taken off the table here from Jensen. Aside from the funny and crazy and powerful LeBlanc builds that have been popping up, you know, with on live Static Shiv with the buffs that are on the next patch,
Yeah.
on 13-12, or with the top one that I mentioned, just straight old standard mid LeBlanc has also had a resurgence here already. So there's your Sejuani that you're expecting.
Yep.
Looks like we're gonna get the blind here from EG for revenge, because technically Cassante is flex.
Well,
Although we have a pretty good idea.
right, exactly. I would feel like it's a safe bet, but Evil Geniuses, what are we going to see here in the jungle?
Man,
Maybe we're not going to see anything in the jungle just yet. Maybe instead locking in the Sion for revenge. Want to take the extra time to think about the jungler options.
okay, nothing too flashy here. The standard meta straightforward for EG. The only wild card could come from jungle, but I expect it to be, you know, something like a Poppy or something like that.
Yeah.
Much more
I'm not
standard
fooled
for
by
Armao.
this. I'm not
You're not biting on the Warwick. Okay.
Oh, but Trundle's going to be biting. Okay.
There you go. The classic into Sejuani, of course, ultimate. After this, you want to wait till after Aftershock is procced on the Sejuani, so there are more stats there for you to steal.
Right.
Also, keep in mind her passive. Trying to get it before that falls off, but ultimate there from Trundle always goes a long way in either stealing from Cassante or Sejuani. The front to back Flowers, the standard front to back from Evil Geniuses, and Dignitas lock in for Jensen. We are mentioning the farming mid lane AP carry for team fights. It's exactly what you get, as you expect. And the Cassio here, I'm actually a really, really big fan of. Super high DPS right now, can also help them out burning down some of these objectives.
Burn down objectives and burn down Sion. We know that this champion just becomes a brick wall later on in the game. So to have two of those consistent DPS threats, especially having them split between AD and AP with Xayah and Cassiopeia, maybe you can get through them a little bit easier than normal, where we see a lot of teams sometimes struggle after this guy's been scaling for a significant amount of time. You already mentioned how Trundle specifically wants to time his ulti versus Sejuani to maximize the stat steal versus both the Arctic Armor and the Aftershock. And if you can land that perfectly and get both of them at the same time, Sejuani becomes paper thin.
Certainly does. Certainly does. All right, let's see if they can get it, working their way through. I would also say, too, with the Cassio, with the Miasma, you can, if you have Sejuani level 6 coming and ganking, get some good chain CC there. You know, Sejuani locks her down. The Miasma goes on top, so you can't get the ult charge off. Then get in position. See if they can put some actual pressure out here. Because Dignitas, they need to show some life here early on in the first Super Week.
They don't want to start off 0-3. Again, not so hot of a spring split showing. Would love to turn it around in summer, but the first couple of days have been rough. Let's see what they've got here going up against EG. that, on the flip side, would love a 3-0 start.
Ooh, what's he selling to Cassante?
30 seconds until
Something
minions
early.
spawn.
Ooh, a Doran
Dorian
shield.
shield. Wow. And a potion. All right. Anything interesting at level 1? Doesn't look like it. Just a little bit of a line of scrimmage here.
Yeah, plus no sweepers either. Honestly, these are not exciting junglers. Flowers,
they're
so these are not your raptor stealing extraordinaires. Sejuani technically could if they had the other level 1 champs to do it with, but they don't. So yeah, it's probably going to be regular farm. You'll definitely expect more possibilities out of a Sejuani though from Santorin here. People have really been looking magnifying glass at Santorin. Hey, you know, wake up, do something here. Let's see that old Santorin magic. And maybe you can pull it out here with the Sedge, a classic champion for him. Has level 3 gank opportunities.
Only real thing to point out here, I think at level 1, difference in summoner spells in bottom lane. Tomo with the cleanse, Diamond with the ignite, versus the double mobility for Unforgiven, taking the ghost with Eyla also having a heal. Much more defensive approach. I always do like the ignite though. Just guarantee a little extra kill pressure, you know?
Yeah,
Gives me this hope that maybe we'll have ourselves a nice bloody level 2, level 3 there in bottom.
Yeah, you want to get to work. Just catch some action. Some supportive combat.
Yeah, trading those spells back and forth a little. Speaking of which, I do want to keep an eye on how Jensen does in this Cassiopeia. This is a champion that we're not seeing a whole ton of these days. But again, Jensen playing those classic style mages is what I expect to always see him on. So hopefully this turns out pretty well for him.
Yeah, pretty even trades so far. Walked a little bit, got clipped on the return there. But push going to Jojo. So he's able to get his early ward off. Make sure that Sejuani, like we said, for the level 3 possibilities, doesn't get anything too crazy. Armao goes over the vision first though, so Santorin knows he's there, and you have to cede control to the Trundle because Jojo again is pushing the mid lane. So your mid laner can't come. Santorin knows it, and he's getting run around his own jungle.
Sejuani versus Trundle is not a fun 1v1 in the first place, but when the enemy mid laner is also in control, Santorin just has no choice whatsoever. Has to head back into the top side of his own jungle, start farming up that red.
Yeah, especially because, he hadn't gotten his red buff early on. Went with the clear over on the other side after Raptors. So Armao, good job from him. Plays off of Jojo, making use of the early Trundle here. Steal away at least the wolves.
Ooh, okay, gonna step up, maybe throw the pillar behind Jensen, gets the knockback, forces the flash out of the Cassiopeia. Nicely done. While bottom side, Diamond wants to go in, but Eyla can disengage without needing to use a summoner spell of his own.
Lot of value here for Armao. They steal away the wolves, gets the flash out of mid. They still have priority. Santorin's gonna get...
Santorin having to use Arctic Assault to get over the wall, but they're ready to flash follow. Armao wants to keep the chase alive. Santorin, this is not what we meant about getting involved in the lanes. It's first blood to Evil Genius.
Yeah, and they knew Armao's still on the side here, so he wraps around. Armao sees him as he's on the Raptors. Immediate flash follow. And Jojo did a good job getting to the other side here, so that's going to be that early kill. They got the flash out of Jensen already previously, and Jensen's pretty low, so kind of dangerous for him.
Oh boy, we're back to live as Diamond is nearly back to dead. He's got to be careful about this one. Below 100 HP, does manage to escape in time. It was both non-flash summoners spent by the EG bottom lane. All summoners still available for dig, so as long as they don't lose too much laning presence off of this, they'll still have more tools to work with in the future if they can get their own jungler down here. But Santorin not liking the state of how things are after that first death.
Yeah, that's the key there, Flowers. You got to play with teammates in the Sejuani Trundle matchup. Trundle runs you, okay? You cannot go face Armao by yourself. You need to play with teammates so you can use some CC and have them bring the damage to burst somebody down in it. Armao now, you thought he had, free roam of Summoner's Rift previously. Now he's got a golden ticket to go wherever he wants, as long as he's playing off of pushing lanes here. Santorin wants to come back and try and answer something, but remember, Jojo still has flash advantage. So they could go for charm flash plays
Yep, there it is. Jojo, flash charm. Armao throws down the trophy. Jensen's not long for this world. Jojo getting the kill credit there as Eyla shows up from an assist on top. Evil Geniuses up over 1,000 gold now with a 2-0 lead. Rich versus Revenge on the top side. Rich taking advantage of that 1v1 power on Cassante, just trying to make sure he maintains absolute control over this lane because things are going bad in mid.
Yeah, you don't want these hands with mid jungle duo right now. It is going all EG. And it's going to stay that way now. Santorin goes back to visit with Jensen, and again, they drop. Really, really good play there, Jojo. We knew he had the flash advantage, Flowers. He used it. And that's going to give you the objective on top. Looks like Evil Geniuses will continue their winning ways for now. 1,000 gold and highly probable dragon advantage at only 6 minutes into the game.
Easy stuff for EG. Nice engage there from Diamond, getting a knock up onto Eyla. However, they cannot get the root from the Blade Caller, not quite in the range. As Rich goes for the dive on Revenge. Not quite enough damage to pose a significant enough threat here, so he's gonna have to disengage from that one. Armao taken low by the Drake, but not low enough to really make him get away from that one since Jojo can rotate down and help. First Drake, first 2 kills, 1,000 gold up for Evil Geniuses. The early game's all going their way. Here's another look at Jojo's Flash Charm.
Boom! Charm Flash, you're gonna hit it every day of the week. There's no level 6 on Jensen. You're dead. Pillars come in. People underestimate the pillar follow-up, okay? Yeah, Trundle, he's not looked at as a turbo ganking jungle, but it actually does provide quite a lot of chase down there. And once that charm hits, easy pillar follow-up, good placement thus far from Armao. He's definitely a long-time Trundle player.
Yes, sir.
Similar to Santorin, so neither of them strangers to this gameplay.
Unforgiven and Eyla scrapping back and forth in the bottom lane with Tomo and Diamond again, but still not a whole lot going on down there. The only assist on any of those bottom laners is Eyla from roaming up during that first Jensen kill, excuse me, as we do have them closing in on level 6, but not quite there just yet. Eyla ignited, has to get away from this one as Unforgiven provides covering fire for his support to get all the way out. Ooh. Eyla does not have to spend either summoner spell to stay alive, and they get the ignite out of Diamond, so positive on summoners there for EG.
Yeah, a little bit closer from Tomo to be able to get out the extra burst damage there. They definitely would have been able to force more, but Eyla walks it out, and so in the end, that is technically an upgrade in combat summoner cooldown here for the EG side. Unforgiven also getting level 6 now on the Aphelios as he's able to clean up the rest of the minions. Assume he's going to push the next wave out before he gets his reset to match.
So, what do we do here if we're Dignitas? Because...
But don't go fighting mid-jungle again, okay?
No more mid-jungle. All right.
Santorin is level 6, though.
Oh, nice. Diamond coming in. Jensen putting a lot of damage here into Jojo, who has to use his last Spirit Rush to get away. But Ayla's ready to use the shield to keep that mid laner alive. Diamond's flash does not result in the kill going the way of Dig. So once again, when they're fighting around mid, they're just not getting enough done. Even when they're coming out on top, they can't quite cross that finish line. Maybe Santorin can change that here. Jojo, no flash, no ulti. The Ahri's got to play respectfully. And with Jojo in such a bad spot, the rest of EG has to back away from this Herald they had started up. Santorin, Rich, Diamond, all coming to collapse. Jensen doesn't have a lot of resources to work with, but with this man advantage, Evil Geniuses knows that Dignitas are the ones in control right now. They are going to step back up, think about potentially challenging for this. Revenge over the wall. He'll have to be the first one to go in.
Yeah, where's Sejuani ult? Watch out.
Herald eyeball. It's too low. It's not going to have the eyeball open up again, but Dignitas just about have it where they want it. Armao flashing away from the Glacial Prison, making sure he doesn't get caught out there. And it is the Herald going over to Dignitas. Finally, the squad gets something to use here in the early game, but Diamond, all right, he gets away.
Yeah, small little lapse in the CC there between the Charm and the Polymorph. Diamond's able to slip out. Lucky there for Dig, but nice pickup. On the Rift Herald, at least able to get something going their way. Santorin as well, like we talked about with that Sejuani CC chain on the Trundle. If you have teammates around, that's where you can actually win the fight versus the Trundle, because you have so much more CC than him. You just lock him down from 100% to 0 with the follow-up from the Rakan, from the Cassante, and he would have died, but good flash there from Armao keeps himself alive, and Dignitas do pick up the objective, so they get the objective +1 summoner spell. Flowers, that is That is very, very good considering the state that they've been in.
Exactly. It's moving in the positive direction. They're not bleeding out any more resources, but now Armao's coming to challenge here for this topside Scuttle Crab. Santorin secures it, and it's actually Santorin who's got a lead in the jungle now. He's up 10 farm. He's got himself +1 on the levels. I'm sure that Armao will hit level 7 here very shortly after 1 or 2 camps, but Dignitas trying to... Yeah, there we go. Trundle's just about going to grab that as soon as he kills the big wolf here. Okay. Not a whole lot going on. Just a little bit of trading up there in the top side. Everybody's just fine, sort of letting this scale forward. There's nothing really to fight for the next 45 seconds. The second Drake is coming up around then. Every time we pan down bottom, Diamond is always looking for one of these engages, one of these grand entrances.
Yeah, and if you're going to attack one area, you know, Diamond is definitely an option. He has no flash from that previous play. Santorin tries to come down early, though. See if they can get this combo off. Sejuani ult coming off cooldown in a couple of seconds. Nobody really stepping up from EG, though, for Diamond to jump on with that Rakan ult to set it up. And they just go use their bot push, transfer on over to Dragon. 10 seconds upon the arrival here. Rich also getting his recall off to purchase before the Dragon. Revenge now matching that recall from top side, and they both have their teleports ready.
And remember, they're unleashed now. 10 minutes instead of 14, so we could get a full-on 5v5 if the teams want it. Armao gonna push forward and control the entrance to the Drake pit. Eyla and Unforgiven just trying to push back against this wave that's being shoved into them right now. Tomo throws down a couple of feathers. Diamond rejoins him. Armao still looking maybe from an angle here. King's Domain's not gonna result in a whole lot of anything, but now EG, they see this as their green light. Dignitas has been forced back into their own lane. They have to come around now. So EG uses the opportunity to start the Drake up.
And Revenge walked here, so he's here first.
Oh! Teleport's gonna come in. Tomo forced into the ulti immediately and early as Diamond is thrown up into the air, juggled around, has to disengage with the grand exit, back over the wall now as Rich goes all out, loses a lot of health doing it. Diamond still taking low. Armao grabbing the kill on him. Rich now focused. Unforgiven needs a little bit more damage, but he can't quite find it, while Jojo and Armao continue the mid-jungle battle up there in the river. 1 death out of all 10 players. It was Diamond. EG come out on top. They've got the better health bars, and they win the Drake.
Yeah, really, really big stuff here. Revenge walks his way down on the Sion, so he gets the ult out of the Xayah and pushes Tomo all the way out of this fight early on. Sejuani ult used at the Sion, and Revenge just uses the Sion ultimate, so he's immune. So that Sejuani ult, that one really big single target stun playmaking ability, does nothing for Dignitas, allows EG, they win the fight up there in the river, even with just Armao and Jojo there, because there isn't that lockdown to set up Jensen. Jensen never even used his Cassiopeia ultimate because they didn't have a good spot for it. So big whiff down there. Sion, nice immunity, using his ultimate to go unstoppable, but definitely a rough one for Dignitas, as that's Dragon number 2, Flowers. Continue on stacking it up for EG. They can just match the AD carry, swap up to the top side.
Well, Dignitas at least get to use their Eye of the Herald up here. Try to grab a couple of plates before they fall. Unforgiven and Eyla want to keep it out of range, but the charge will still complete. So at least they get the 2 plate value out of that one. It's something back for Dignitas. But things are still staying about the same pace that they have been. And it's Infernal Soul too, man. It's not a Chemtech Soul or something like that you're just sort of like, yeah, whatever, okay. Infernal Soul is going to be a problem. So for Dignitas, I'm hoping they have some sort of a mid-game, longer-term plan, because Evil Geniuses, if things keep going at this pace, are feeling more than comfortable.
Oh, they certainly are. Especially Armao here, getting another kill for himself. Jojo's heading down towards Rich, though.
Oh,
nice combo.
That CC chain is just filthy. The Sion stun into the Everfrost root, into the Charm, into a second kill for Jojo, who maintains 100% kill participation here in this game. 4-0 lead now for EG.
Yeah, he's just picking on him now. That's going to be solo turret gold for Jojo also. Ahri will be super rich. The Trundle super rich. The mid-jungle duo for Evil Geniuses wrapping this one up.
Nothing to it, man. They are making it look easy. Santorin coming back up here, seeing if anybody's going to be defending. Moving up to try to protect this tier 1 turret. There have been no turrets taken yet so far in the game, so if Jojo pushes bottom, Dignitas is going to push top. We'll see who ends up getting the first turret bonus. It looks like Jojo's not even concerned about the race for it. He's just allowing the turret to execute as many minions as possible instead. So the bonus gold goes over to Dignitas for that first turret, but then immediately some gold right back into EG's pocket with Jojo taking the one down there on the other side of the rift. Still 2.5 minutes to go until we get our next Drake, but the Herald is about to spawn, and I would expect Evil Geniuses to not want to just give this one away.
Yeah, I'm expecting them to just yoink it, take that up themselves. Santorin does have his ultimate back here for the Sejuani. And again, Rich's teleport's like 2 seconds away, so they could fight it, but they need to coordinate. Sejuani ult plus Rakan and Cassio. Those have to work together.
Herald opens up the eye again. Teleports coming in from both sides. They both had the same idea. They want to perform a pincer attack on the other team. Santorin engages. They've locked down Unforgiven, but now he has to try to disengage and get back out of the aggro. He's still kept alive. A nice amount of peel coming out of EG. Eyla gets the kill back on Tomo, but Unforgiven's going to be traded. AD carry for AD carry. 4v4 left on the map. Armao is very low as Santorin picks up a kill on Eyla, and Jensen flashes over the wall. Jojo's ready to pursue him and take him down, but Dignitas get another one back as Armao falls to Rich. Revenge is stuck in a pit. 1v3, and Dignitas, even though they were down, they are not out. They take the fight.
They get it. They combo Santorin. This time, he's right on top of Forgiven. He initially starts it out, getting so much out of him, and they finally followed up there. Diamond follows through. They get the kill, even though it got a little dicey there. Meanwhile, Rich on the bottom side zones the rest of them out. That Sion ultimate on 2 did delay. Tomo's able to use the Xayah ultimate plus flash to get over there, but he then trades and it's 1-for-1. Meanwhile, backside, Armeo's already chunked so low, they're going to have a hard time getting out of this one as Eyla gets 2v1'd, and even though Jojo does chase Jensen over the wall, the gladiator pit that is the Baron circle here does go the way of Dignitas. Big stuff for them. Rich getting 3 of those kills.
Yeah. That was huge in momentum swing for Dignitas. Gives them some faith in their team fighting capabilities, shows that they're on enough of a coordinated level to take the fight to an EG squad that was up 2,000 gold. That gold lead shrunk back down now to less than 1,000. There is 35 seconds until the next Drake spawns. I was talking about how Dignitas are gonna need a plan for this Drake stacking so EG can't get an early Infernal Soul, and right now, it's Dig who has control over that bottom side river.
All right, and they're splitting. It looks like Jensen bottom side going to be trading those minions as the Sion working on the tower top here for Evil Geniuses. Revenge is up on it, though, and he should be able to finish. Next minion wave. Looks like they're going to rotate up, and both teams decide to trade parts of the map. So that dragon on bottom side also means that not only is Cassiopiea going to do some work on the bottom side tower here. Oh, Rift Herald's going to mean you have to answer the push, though.
Right.
Secondary turrets are worth so much. EG going to try and funnel more money into Unforgiven.
That is the one saving grace that Evil Geniuses had in that second Herald fight. They were the ones who got the objective, even though they lost the team fight after. And now with Unforgiven having the Chakrams, they can knock down this tier 2 entirely, and that's a ton of gold in Aphelios' pocket.
All right, let's see. Jensen should finish up with the tower trade on bottom side while they also do get the dragon there for Santorin in the pit. So Dignitas, not the end of the world, not the worst trade here, since they still get at least a tower and 1 dragon to stop that stacking from Evil Geniuses.
Alrighty, Dignitas, let's go ahead and lock that one down. There it is. First Drake of the game for them, stopping the stack critically, making it so if you miss out on another one of those, it's not the end of the world, it's not the soul. Feels good, but still down about 1.7 thousand gold, 18 minutes and 45 seconds into the game, so closing in on when Baron's going to be active. And once Baron gets on the map, then we're going to start considering things like, you know, Cassiopeia's incredible DPS uptime. Yeah. If Dignitas ever has an angle to take that, they do it very quickly.
Yeah, even though Jensen definitely hurt by that early lane phase and the mid-jungle fiascos that happened down there, a little bit down in CS, still is a Leandrius Cassiopeia, so still is going to be able to pump damage as soon as he gets second item here. So Dignitas, they're keeping him in the side lane, go collect those top minions.
And Jensen also closing in on having that second item fully completed. The Seraph's Embrace fully stacked already with the tier, so it'll evolve as soon as he completes the purchase of the Archangel's Staff. You can see the second item completed there, the Horizon Focus for Jojo on the Ahri, giving a little bit more amp damage, making it so he can try to burst some of these targets down, because Jojo does have the most kills on his team. He's still got 100% kill participation. We've been talking about how Jojo feels like he's back compared to the performances in spring, and he's going to need to do some heavy lifting for EG in this one.
Certainly is. Mid tower, the last bit of defense is here, and they teleport to defend.
Everfrost used nicely there. Armao soaks up the Sejuani ulti, and Evil Geniuses just turns around and splatters Diamond all over mid lane. Tomo's low, but he can disengage thanks to the rest of Dignitas protecting him. Evil Geniuses pick up a free 1 for nothing.
Can we get a revenge cam? Driving that bus right into his face. Boom. Headshot. They explode. Diamond drops immediately, and that should be enough to get the last outer tower here. They leave it to Unforgiven. He's AoEing down the wave while the rest of the team goes to take the rest of their wards, and might need a little bit of help since still a couple of defenders here from Dignitas to call everybody else over. All right, they actually just take jungle camps instead of bullying down that mid tower. They feel like it's low enough that they can take it when they return, and they've got enough deep vision already encroaching into the Dignitas jungle to take away a decent amount of value.
You can see the Scryer Trinket used there in the Baron Pit, wanting to make sure that nobody's attempting any sort of a sneak. But Dignitas, I don't know, I feel like they're trying to regain their footing here in the game. They're trying to get some foundation to stand on, but it's just not happening.
It's a little shaky right now, but definitely winnable if they can have a better start to the fight. It's the openings here, the initiations, and both these ones that they lost heavily were terrible openings for them. You know, right off the bat, getting headshot by the Sion ultimate. Oh, observers, thank you so much. The dash cam for the Sion, right in, boom, hits him up into the air. He got the Q onto both of them, by the way, Tomo and Diamond. So Revenge just completely destroying them in that one. That's what I'm talking about, the openings to these team fights. If your opening is, boom, Sion ultimate into charge Q knockup, and one of your Dignitas players is already in the fountain, that is not going to be a winnable scenario. You need to have early vision there so that you can get a good Sejuani Rakan combination to start it out, so that Rakan doesn't instantly die. And then Cassiopiea has free roam. You get to layer your miasma on top. You get a good Cassiopeia ultimate on. You can deny the counter engage from your opponents. And there is a viable path to victory here for Dignitas. It's just that they have had so many terrible ones so far that it's contributing to more and more of a gold lead for Evil Geniuses.
And although that gold lead is still around 3,000 gold, the important thing to note here is when we look at the inventories, completed number of items are the same. Exact same builds for the Xayah and the Aphelios, except for Dorian's Blade versus Control Ward. 2 fully completed items for both mid laners, 1 fully completed item plus parts in the jungle, and then 2 fully completed items in top lane. It means in terms of your actual stat value for the gold that you have, Dignitas feels closer to EG than that 3,000 would suggest, I would think. And the biggest difference is there in Jojo's inventory. You can see he's got the stopwatch, he's got the Fiendish Codex, has the Dark Seal with the 8 stacks on it too. I feel like Jojo, especially confident Jojo, is absolutely the kind of guy to, if you hit 10 stacks on the Dark Seal, it must be turned into a book.
I love it. That's how I like my mid laners to play the game. Go big or go home. And the champion does have advantages in the game state right now because they've got full control pushing out both side lanes. If they just contract their forces down to the dragon on dragon spawn, you know, this Ahri fishing around 4 kills has a lot of burst damage. Revenge again is looking for an ult on the Sion though.
And they throw up the Trundle pillar. It's going to keep Tomo and Jensen slowed down, but not set him up for an engage just yet.
They got inside.
Jojo's got to be a little careful here. He is trying to come around from the side, but Rich spotting him out, marks him. Dignitas trying to go after the Drake, but Revenge goes in. They're going to try to find the burst on Santorin immediately, but instead, it's Unforgiven and Jojo both turned on and exploded. Beautifully counterattacked by Dignitas. Evil Geniuses wanted to fight, and Dig just smacked them.
That's what I'm talking about. You have Sejuani block the Sion ultimate, and then Jojo missed the charm onto Jensen when he went in for the little poke damage there. Once that charm is down, Jensen just moved forward on Cassio. They murdered the rest of Evil Geniuses. All right, Rich still has Cassante ult. He didn't even have to use his ult in that last one.
And remember what I said about how if Dignitas ever gets that window for Baron, they're going to take it quickly. The window is open right now, and Evil Geniuses are seeing if there's anything they might be able to do to stop it. The answer is no. It's a Dignitas Baron 24 minutes into the game.
That's the team fight. Those are the tools that they're able to use. Dignitas coming up big there. They were able to coordinate this time. Nice little review after last one. So they blocked the Sion ultimate this time, and this is what I'm talking about. Tomo ults over to the side to get out of that queue. The charm doesn't hit Jensen, and then they're able to lock him up. Diamond goes in on the Rakan. It looks so much better when you're able to layer this way. Santorin starting out with that Sejuani ultimate. Much, much better played this time for Dig. And the rewards are huge because Dragons are tied up and gold is almost tied up now. Plus they have the pushing power with Baron. And a really good DPS scaling mid lane champion here in the Cassio, as long as you're able to keep it safe. You can see in the last team fight there, does a lot of work despite being down a decent amount from lane phase.
Dignitas grouping up with 4 men here in the mid lane. This tier 1 turret in mid, still standing strong. 25 minutes in. They're not going to hard force that down. Jensen is splitting in the bottom side with the Cassiopeia as Rich may get engaged on here. Cassante not really a viable target for an engage, but they know Jensen isn't even around. Evil Genius is trying to take advantage of their +1 here as Diamond gets locked up when he attempts to engage. And Revenge gets the kill. Dignitas, why in the hell are we fighting without the Snake Lady? Jensen, ready to join up now. Revenge will soak a couple of those fangs, but it doesn't work out for Dig.
It certainly doesn't. They turned around and they re-engaged the 4v5 themselves. As you pointed out, Flowers, before that fight even started, Jensen was headed bottom to push that bottom wave in, and Dignitas, they bite off way too much. They got a little bit too happy here with their recent success. Went to their heads. They still have Baron buff though. They still have a 4v3 advantage now in mid lane, so you can bully down that last tower and get something.
Okay, they'll take the tier 1 turret at least. You want to see more out of a Baron play. Just getting a single tier 1 turret off of a Baron buff doesn't feel like accomplishing a lot. They've only got 45 seconds left on it though, and it looks like that's all the value they're going to get.
All right, well, I honestly, I agree, because they even got a push back out here for EG. Jojo went topside. He pushed out that wave. Revenge about to annihilate this wave on Sion. So EG pretty happy with stabilizing after that big loss of the team fight that cost them both the Dragon and the Baron. Since that Baron was taken, they even made up 200 of the gold difference. So
yeah,
making it right back here. 3 items, excuse me, Cassante here for Rich though. Looks quite good. He has done a lot for this team.
Yeah,
creating a lot of space and approaching that level 16 as well. Very, very dangerous ultimates. Unforgiven definitely has to watch his positioning here. Has both summoner spells up and available for himself, though.
Both AD carries just completing their 3rd item with the Lord Dominic's regards. Both sides know that there is a hell of a front line on the enemy team they must punch through. The armor penetration is mandatory at this point in the game. Gargoyle Stoneplate on that Cassante that you're pointing out for Rich will be a huge difference maker if he gets focused at all. That thing can absorb so much damage with proper timing of the shield. Meanwhile, on the other side, Revenge still working on completing his own 3rd item. Less than 60 seconds until the Drake spawns. It will put one of the 2 teams on Soul Point. Whoever can take control over it. We've seen good and bad fights out of both of these teams. And really, this is just coming down to execution.
And I like Dignitas here. They're taking the opportunities, seeing the Ahri topside, to say, hey, we're going to grab some vision while you're trying to get your minion wave pushing on topside. And they do a little bit of setup work here. These are kind of shallow wards, but they're very nice for the dragon setup. Just outside of the pink ward range there, that is from the Raptor brush.
Yep.
So good job here from Dig, taking the opportunity when they see EG pushing top. It is said, though, that extra minion wave is going to oh, the charm!
Nice charm onto Tomo, but he pops it with the cleanse. Now Dignitas is ready to fire back. Armao is juggled right back into the team and bursted down by Jensen. Revenge now stuck in the front, but Rich takes him over the wall with the all out. Knocks him right back into Dig again, but now Santorin's got to be careful because Rich is shut down. EG may have an angle. Revenge will fall, but now they got to avoid the Sion dead body. Dignitas falling back as 4. Charm flies out from Jojo, but again, not going to connect. Dignitas come out on top, +1 in that exchange.
Oh, that little alleyway there, perfect for Tomo. Big ult blade caller from him. cuts right through that tank. Dignitas, they get another one. That's 3 dragons stacking. And Flowers, let's take a look at how it all started out, because the charm does hit, but it's a cleanse for Tomo. Sejuani ultimate onto Unforgiven. He then flashes early on in the fight, and this is a problem you see with a lot of Trundles. The positioning later towards these team fights, you are not tanky. He ults pretty late, doesn't have any of the stats stolen until it's way too late, and still gets popped. Then they get the shutdown turnaround though, and you think they've got it with the small corridor here, easy to fill with feathers, so nobody else can follow up, and the tank is isolated. They pull it right back through that tank. The blade collar massive, and Tomo rips him apart.
Tomo stepping up here. Also, I don't know, because sometimes we do have bugs with spectators and cooldowns, but it looked like Rich did not use the Gargoyle Stoneplate active in the fight. So Dignitas
Got popped real quick.
Right, yeah, I don't think he was expecting just how much damage was going to be coming in there, but that is one of the difficulties with the active item compared to something that would activate passively, like a Seraph's, like a Sterix, etc. You got to have that timing. If you don't press the button, you're not getting the shield. So hopefully for Rich, he'll be more prepared for that here in the future. Jumps in, knocks Revenge back. It's a difficult target to engage on. You can see him being healed up, staying alive for now. Armao still seeing if there's any sort of an angle. Revenge below half HP. Dignitas chunked the enemy tank, but that's about it. In terms of ultis, there's no Sion ult now. There's no Sejuani ult. Dignitas doesn't want to full commit onto anything just yet because Tomo also does not have his ulti back up yet on the Xayah. Also being without the cleanse means if he gets caught at all, he is dead, and then you guarantee lose the fight. Everybody watching saw the damage share in the last team fight. No Xayah, you're not fighting.
Yeah, no Xayah and no Snake. That rule should still be there too. Last time they fought without the Snake, that was also bad. So,
we need the bird and we need the snake. That's Dignitas' game plan. Oh, Jojo goes in, looks for Tomo, but he ain't gonna find it. Nice use of that Xayah ulti to dodge away from that charm flash.
yeah, good reactions there. Nobody getting caught yet. Oh, he goes back in.
Jojo wants it! Does he find it? Not quite. Tomo stays alive with a shield, and now Jojo's punished instead. Rich goes after Unforgiven, and he's looking for the solo kill off to the side, but Eyla's ready to protect his AD carry. Armao flashes back over the wall. Diamond wants to pick him up. Rich now focusing fire onto Eyla. Unforgiven getting one back onto Diamond. It's a 1-for-1 so far, and Evil Geniuses keeps trying to get away. Revenge knocked back with the Intofo strikes as Jensen is running low on mana, and Tomo is still out of the fight. He had to go back and heal, but he's making his way back. Dignitas is trying to buy enough time for him. Armao wants to heal back up, but Santorin's already killed him. Rich gets another as they shut down Unforgiven, and now it's Eyla and Revenge trying to stand and fight, but they will fall instead. A double kill back over to Santorin, a double kill back over to Jensen. Rich will escape the Sion body, and Dignitas just made a graveyard out of Evil Genius.
Oh my goodness, the second half of that team fight where Unforgiven has to walk down here into the river and gets into range of the W. Let's take a look at how it all started out though. Jojo goes for the hero play. He knows there's no ult on Xayah now, so he wants to hit him with the Everfrost, but Tomo, good sidestep there, and then flashes away from the drawback on the Q. Meanwhile, Jojo can't escape, but then Unforgiven fights 1v1 with Rich here, able to actually push off the Cassante, and Eyla flashes over to get him that polymorph to make sure he's fine. Armao then big Trundle healing off of a dying opponent, but here's where it gets dicey. Even though they have the numbers advantage and Xayah is far away, we've got Unforgiven walking across the Cassiopeia miasma, and Santorin still at ult, so he comes in with Sejuani, hits the W, Rich gets that Q3 onto him, and Cassio will finish off that kill. Rich does so much with so little HP there towards the end of it too.
And you saw when they initially start up that 3v4 waiting for Tomo to show up so they can continue the fight, Rich actually steps for a second down to the river, second in Tofo strike onto the crab to prime the third one, so then he can knock his opponent, knock that Sion back without having to expose himself to any extra damage first. And I think that's the difference maker between him living there or being dead at the end of the fight.
Good stuff from Dig here, fighting their way again out of it. And now they've got a massive lead themselves. Baron buff on for pushing. This gold lead will increase. 3 dragons down. Santorin.
Oh, nice! Over the wall comes the Sejuani ultimate. Wild growth to keep Jojo alive means Evil Geniuses can get away from it, but the tier 2 turret has already been smashed. Dignitas are still at full HP, and Kobe, Dig have 3 Infernal Drakes already. The 4th one spawning in 20 seconds. They've got control over the map. They've got the bonuses from Baron, and they are in a prime spot to secure this soul.
All right, Armao fishing around, but that's a dangerous game. Trundle, as we've seen, can get bursted down.
Diamond goes in, looks for the grand entrance, immediately jumps right back to the rest of his team. Evil Genius is trying to approach, a nice use of the miasma there to make it more difficult for them to close that distance. Santorin dodging away from the charm. Dignitas trying to be careful about how they choose to fight this. Miasma thrown on the ground again. Armao, half HP. Evil Genius is backing it up. Their jungler's at half. Gonna be even lower now. That Cassiopeia damage over time is such a pain. Armao is gonna have to pick his moment very wisely. If he goes in a little bit too early, it's gonna be trouble. Rich, knocked back onto 4 players, and immediately all out back over the wall. Unforgiven's dead, Ayla's dead, Armeo's dead, and Evil Geniuses are all down. Tomo's gonna chase after revenge. It's a double kill back over to the Xayah. Jojo cannot escape. Dignitas just clean aced Evil Geniuses off Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, they're about to clean and do. They're going for it, Flowers. They've got Baron buff. The way is open to the Nexus.
Rich with the 4-man knock-up, knock back with the Intofo strikes to start up the team fight that will give Dignitas the victory over Evil Geniuses, give Dignitas their first win here in Summer 2023, and they gotta be feeling good about it.
There you go. Rich team fighting specialty. They had some blunder team fights early on.
Yes.
A couple of them with false starts.
Where is the snake?
To those team fights, but they still were able to pull it back and win the critical ones at the Dragon that got them both Dragon and Baron, and then move it forward, front to back, really, really big stuff. As well, Sejuani ending with a 2-level lead over the Trundle, even despite the early antics and the early advantages of the mid-jungle for EG. The Sejuani still proving much more useful there. The CCU green towards the later stages, going with the phase rush instead of the aftershock in the matchup, shrugging off the early stages of the game.
And that shrug, I think, is huge because Santorin, his first death there in mid lane was a little silly. But then his presence later on in the game, not just his champion scaling better, but his mental scaling better. He's constantly looking for angles, finding engages on valuable targets, starting things off with that perma lockdown that you're talking about. And he played it really well in the back half of the game.
Dig already starting out better than last split.
Hell yeah, brother.
It's summertime, Dignitas here. I like to see the improvements.
Obviously still things to learn from that game, still plenty to work on, but let's take another look at this final fight here. Watch Rich start it off.
Goes in, is able to get the move forward into the Q3 on 4 people, followed up by Diamond and Santorin. He ults out Eyla, gets that kill. Santorin finishes up the kill onto Unforgiven, and the fight is over.
Beautifully done. Immediately engaging onto everybody, popping the all out to make sure that you don't get counter bursted. That's what I want to see right there. That's the kind of guy that you make a promo video about that you play before the game. All right? That's
Good
the
timing
guy.
on that one. Yeah, well done from Dignitas. That's their big signing in the offseason that they want to get everybody hyped about. And, you know, the hype starts here.
Yeah, that's it. It's all got to start somewhere, right? And with that game, that's what we wanted. Hell yeah. King of top. So now the question is this the start of the Dignitas hype train? Can they keep it going in week 2? And because the schedule is so compressed, I think it's really important to not start 0-3. It gives you that faith. It gives you a little bit of momentum coming into your scrims, going into week number 2. Hey, we're not just going to be a punching bag. We can hit back. Like, that's...
They definitely can.
That matters, man.
That's why even when they're down 3,000 gold, I was saying they still have the parts to win some of these team fights. They just have to clean up some of the execution errors that they were making in the previous ones in the setup, and they did just that. So it's really good to see that in-game improvement. You know, just with the 5 players there, no coaching involved, they're able to triage, fix the setup there, and take the win.
And I mean, the first one was really that fight up around, I think it was the second Herald, where Evil Genius is starting it off. Yeah, they end up getting the Herald, but the trade is what, 4 for 1 or something like that, when Dignitas was down 2,000 or 3,000 gold at that point. that's where you see, okay, maybe there is something here. Maybe there's a spark. Maybe this team can make this comeback happen. And for Evil Geniuses, they were looking like they were on a roll. They had a couple of really solid games on days 1 and 2. It was looking like it was going to be a repeat here on day number 3, and then it just all fell apart. We talked about how Jojo had a lot of those resources. We saw him go for a couple of big plays, but Dignitas was ready for him. And now, with everything wrapped up in game 3, we're joining Emily and Jensen at the Tiki Bar for our Verizon post-game interview.
Hello, I am joined by the victorious Jensen. I promise with these two here, it is not a catching up with double lift setup. I promise.
I'm scared.
Yeah, your first win of the split, and we just shove you into that. So congratulations, first of all. Second of all, talk me through the Cassiopiea pick, because I feel like it is really strong, but in certain team comps and against certain opponents. So just talk me through why you decided to go for that in mid today and how much of a difference it made in the game.
I mean, honestly, I haven't really practiced any Cassio at all. It was just when they locked in Trundle, Sion, I thought we needed someone who can kill the front line a bit better. And I thought as long as we win front to back, you know, we have a pretty tanky team comp, that the game should be good. So I thought my pick this game was really strong, even though laning didn't go as ideal. But Cassio was really strong in this game.
Yeah, so there was about like a 24-minute Drake fight, I believe, when, you know, you guys, that was kind of the game changer for me. So I guess talk me through comms at that point, because up until that moment, it felt like EG had complete control of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it was like you said, they definitely had control of the game, but I think we always felt that like our team fighting was really good as long as we could play it properly. So even though they were ahead, I think as long as we wouldn't get like caught or picked off by Ahri and get flanked, then I felt pretty confident in our team fighting this game.
Okay. And then obviously this is already a better start than last split, but you are coming off kind of a rough split and a rough first few days. So I guess, what has it been like with this new lineup, and what is your outlook for the rest of the split?
I mean, it's been a breath of fresh air. I think running it back when we had 3 wins in Spring Split, I think would have been a disaster. I think we were never really gonna like achieve much with that lineup, to be fair. And yeah, I mean, it's been nice having new faces come in, and I mean, things are definitely going better. We already picked up 1 win. I mean, we're 1-2, so it's nothing to be proud of, but I see a lot more potential here.
Okay. And then one thing I did want to ask you, just because you're a veteran, you've played in several different kind of setups in terms of how games have gone. With every week being a super week, right? Momentum seems to matter a lot more. Would you agree or disagree, or how does it affect your prep?
I don't think it like affects our prep too much, but you know, going in today, it was like, wow, we're 0-2, and I feel like we have a lot of things we need to work on, but then we have another game to play, right? So if we ended 0-3, I think it would have been like a lot more pressure on us mentally going into the next week, when we feel like there's a lot of things to work on, because it's not like things you can like fix over a day, right? Like you need to like implement it in practice and work on it. So there's definitely more pressure because you need to improve a lot faster with these super weeks.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was wondering, so I figured I'd ask. Thank you so much for taking the time. And on the other side of the break, we have NRG taking on 100 Thieves.
AD carry for AD carry, 4v4 left of the map. Armao is very low as Santorin picks up a kill on Eyla, and Jensen flashes over the wall. Jojo's ready to pursue him and take them down, but Dignitas get another one back as Armao falls to Rich. Revenge is stuck in a pit, 1v3, and Dignitas, even though they were down, they are not out. He had to go back and heal, but he's making his way back. Dignitas is trying to buy enough time for him. Armao wants to heal back up. Braun's already killed him. Rich gets another as they shut down Unforgiven, and now it's Eyla and Revenge trying to stand and fight, but they will fall instead. A double kill back over to Santorin, a double kill back over to Jensen. Rich will escape the Sion body, and Dignitas just made a graveyard out of Evil Genius.
Oh. Typical beginner's mistake.
Yes, they all start from the outside.
So, will we help him?
What else? Here, try it with Red Bull.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hmm?